Hi everyone, welcome to my review of John Huston's The Treasure of the Sierra Madre from 1948. So back again here, once again to discuss a Western. One of the big exciting things I do on my channel is to discuss Westerns, and it seems like many people, through the feedback I've got, they also like to discuss Westerns and watch Western reviews. And finally, once again, I did say it'd be roughly every month I try to review a Western. It didn't happen, but finally here to discuss one here, and a very, very interesting Western, and certainly a pretty remarkable film. I'll say that now, but there will be spoilers in this review. So if you haven't seen this film, simply I recommend watching it and then coming back to this. So with that said, that little notice there, the warning. Yes, very, very iconic film here, and here it is, the HMV Blu-ray, premium, of course. I've got the one of the art cards behind me with the slipcover. But yes, watching this last Thursday. Today is Friday night, the following week, of course, and it'll probably be uploaded next week actually. But yes, here it is, and it's a film. Once again, I've heard about this film since I was very, very young. Just hearing the name, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, you don't really, perhaps you wouldn't know what it is when you're younger, specifically who's in it perhaps, it could be one of them, and just, something you just hear about, it's kind of part of, film history, and Humphrey Bogart, of course, starring in this film, so very, very interesting. I love Humphrey Bogart, and, I've talked about him a little bit, although I've not really reviewed any of his films yet. So yeah, the first one right here that kind of marks as well. So yes, John Huston as well, writing and directing this film. A hats off, to him. This is a really, really, a highly impressive film, and it's a very interesting film. It's a Western, although maybe not a typical Western, and it's also a very, very kind of complex film. Very dark, in the second half. There are some shocking moments, and actually very daring film in the sense that Humphrey Bogart was a very big, love star, of course. Certainly by this point, as we know, but the daring, the kind of, just the kind of, the guts to, in the way that this character that he plays, of course, Dobbs, and he's essentially, the way in which, as we know, he is killed off in the film later on in the picture. I just found it to be a very shocking, unexpected kind of situation. The way it was handled, it's certainly not a dignified end for this character, and it's very, very bold to portray, a character like this, and for a star like this, I've never really seen any films where Humphrey Bogart is, is in this kind of role, and it's kind of, a grimy, intense picture. This one, and it's very interesting because he was a very glamorous actor. He had style, and he was in these particular films, and then to see him in this, it's very, very interesting. I think, actually, so far this is the best role that I've seen from him, and he was a great actor. He had class and charm, but this is very, very different. For that as well, and John Huston, also a filmmaker that I really want to check out more from, and this could be his most famous work. And certainly for me, this is a stunning piece of cinema. I'll say that now. I loved this film, especially the first half and moments, as we go on as well. But especially the first half. This was just, this entire first half was masterful. It was just so stunning, and it has this kind of blend of comedy and drama, intense drama, of course, and the mystery to this is very, very interesting indeed. But essentially three main characters. You have Curtin, played by Tim Holt. You have Walter Huston, being, of course, he was the father, of John Huston. He plays Howard in the film. Essentially, he's actually the father figure, in the film. And you also have Dobbs, played by Humphrey Bogart, and that's the essential three main characters. Dobbs and Curtin. They are two kind of people that are interacting at first, and these two, you could say, these drifters, American drifters, in a town of Tampico, Mexico, of course, and they're kind of in and out of, kind of jobs. They're not being paid, for example, here and there, and things, are not going well for these characters. They're essentially being used, and it's very interesting to see how this film progresses. I was certainly not ready for the actual scope of this film. Really, it starts off, something very, very different to even just after the half an hour mark, and then the second half, is very different once again. But it feels, just like this organic adventure film, this epic in many regards, and just seeing how these characters, especially Dobbs, progresses, is just so wonderful to see, but very, very, very sad. I was very saddened by this film. A very tragic picture. It's very, very dark and very intense. And as I say, which we'll get to in a moment, in a few moments. But the ending for our protagonist, just was very, very out of nowhere in that sense. But also just the way he died off screen, essentially, and the kind of brutality, the savage feeling of this, and just the very undignified ending, of him, and it wasn't really, a wrap up in many regards, but I found it very, very bold, and it was so effective. It really had me just shaken. I was just in awe of this. The way in which things pan out for our characters. It's not exactly, kind of a pleasing, final act for many of the, in many regards, I feel, but, it's just, this is a visionary film, and, just sticking to, I guess, the inevitable, and, just the way in which the film progresses, it just feels organic and just right. I feel for these characters, but these drifters, eventually after kind of 20 minutes or so of just going through and not being successful, but I love, first of all, I love these early scenes. They're so enjoyable. This is just masterful. Seeing how these characters are interacting and just so investing. It's got comedy in there as well, and just seeing the determination, of course, and just really getting related to these characters, and seeing what they're doing, and the character traits, and also just the desperation, simply to amass some kind of wealth, and just going the lengths they would go to, throughout the film. But even just early on, it's very, very, very compelling, and just eventually meeting up with Howard, and it all kind of unfolds from there. These wonderful kind of moments of just pure storytelling, these kind of rumors and stuff, and just these interactions between Howard and the other members. It's very, very much compelling, and just seeing. Just hearing these different moments, and just it gets me enraptured, just wanting to know where this film will go, and it just had me hooked, of course. And then of course it starts to open up. We have this whole world building, of course, and this adventure feeling, that kind of transpires, and then of course these characters for the rest of the film really become prospectors in search for gold, and of course different methods they kind of act out, kind of unfolds from there. But the main kind of themes of this film, is really just paranoia, betrayal, and I think greed, very much so. It's fine for the characters to kind of be wanting some kind of amass some kind of wealth, but things do turn into the kind of in the way of greed and wanting a bit too much, and then of course just acting out these different moments, just based on essentially just wanting it, just wanting more and more, and not thinking about the actual humanity, I guess, of the situation. But this film, in doing that, it really is a human picture, and I feel just to see how these people are interacting, and to see an exploration of human nature, is very, very interesting indeed, and just the lengths that Dobbs goes to. But of course, his mind essentially becomes warped, and here, of course, as we know, paranoia takes over. More than anything, I think. You could say, even more so than greed, because he just becomes mad by the end of the film, and that's one of the things that just, the reason why he does meet his end in such a way, because he's reckless, and he's out of control, and you do interestingly see, just genius moments, in the first half. You see the kind of the moments, the subtle hints, of him slightly becoming, mad, and just out of control, unstable, of course, but really it becomes full, comes full circle, in the second half of the film, and of course, just the way he acts and what he does, especially as well when Howard goes out of the film for a bit, he really kind of takes over, and the desperation and just the kind of intensity, of this really, it became very, very hard, very harsh, this film, and very much, just, but in the sense of, an honest film, and really, sincere, and it's just doing, true things in this, kind of what it's saying, and what it's showing, and just the way in which it's done, the way the film is shot is wonderful. It really, really is, capturing these locations wonderfully. It has this sweeping feeling, but it also has at times these really intense claustrophobic moments through the framing, and also has, in terms of sweeping, the big scope of the film, the grand majestic feeling. It has the wonderful editing as well, the kind of the kind of fading, and just the way in which the film flows, in all these different locations, the grand outdoors. I think this is one of the first films, American films, essentially, that were shot, on location outside, of the US. So very, very interesting. Obviously, studios were involved. Studio, sets and everything. And that was one of the first films. Hollywood films to actually do this, so it's very interesting, and the combination here of sets and these kind of claustrophobic, kind of intense locations with these grand moments, these authentic moments, visually, and just locations. It's wonderful to see. This is quite a glorious film, especially the first half. I must say, I definitely prefer the first half. I think the second half, it's just not as enjoyable for me. There are a couple of flat moments, but mainly it's just the direction it goes. Simply for my personal enjoyment, I think I would definitely take the first half. The lack of hope and stuff, and just the way in which it wasn't as enjoyable. In the second half, and when Howard, kind of separates from the group, it just wasn't as, because the first hour, was just perfect for me, really. Just seeing these three characters, the dynamics, of course, and the comedy, something that's kind of lacking a little bit in the second half is the comedy, of course. It goes in a very tragic way, and I respect the film for that. And everyone involved, they commit. This is such a stunning film, and just so much passion in this, in this picture. But yes, just preference. Preference-wise, I don't like the film or love the film as much as the film goes on in the second half. But it really comes together in the end to really, really move me. So it did come together wonderfully, and seeing the outcomes is actually something I wanted from these characters. But nevertheless, it's true. It's it's a visionary film, and it makes sense. And I think just very much an epic ending as well, and very, very reflective film. It's a very mystical film. This is so rich in in just characters. This kind of world building as well, and atmosphere. The atmosphere to this film, is just wow. So detailed, this film, but just so full of meaning. It really is a stunning picture, and there are some slights, there are some things I don't like as much as the film goes on, but really I loved this film. I think it's a stunning western, and just to see how madness ensues, just through wanting money, essentially wanting wealth, but taking it too far. And that's what some of the characters do, in the film, and it's just very sad to see. But just an honest, sincere picture, and what it's saying about humanity is very, very powerful, and it's a film that it doesn't exactly please me in every way, in the kind of outcomes, but that is not the point. It really is saying something about humanity, just of course, yes, the drive, but going too far, and also just paranoia, taking over, and greed, and just betrayal in that sense as well, that leads to that, and of course fate as well. There's a sense of fate that kind of shrouds the film as well, and it's very, very ambiguous as to why different characters. Is it based their outcomes based on their actions, or is it just fate, or a bit of both? Of course, is it a combination? That's the kind of the sense of wonder to the film, and there is a sense of not knowing exactly, what's going on here, or what is the reasoning, what is the message, and that's what I love as well. It's very much open to interpretation. There are, of course, very obvious things going on, but it's very much a film that when it ends, it wraps up, but it leaves the sense of wonder, mystery, and just a very ambiguous film in some regards as well, and also enough to get me, kind of satisfied, and also to feel the tragedy on the other hand, and just a stunning film, and really blew me away in so many regards, and certainly for me personally, a great Western film. Other supporting characters as well. Gold Hat in the film, played by Alfonso Bedoya. He is very interesting, just entertaining, I guess, and very kind of he brings a presence to the film. Also Cody. Now this is a very interesting character, played by Bruce Bennett, and he kind of comes into the film. There is this kind of mystery. What is he doing? What is he kind of trying to do here? And then it's one of them films where, with such a character, you suspect things. You kind of the suspicion to it, the paranoia that as a viewer I felt. He's coming in to kind of upset their kind of routine, their kind of way in which they're kind of finding gold. I didn't want any of these three main characters to kind of make or not make it out, of course. And I suspected this character as well, but also there was this sense of is he really trying to help them? And in the sense that he does unfortunately meet his end. It's one of them characters where you kind of regret doubting him. In that sense, that's very sad as well. Cody, he kind of comes into it, and then very quickly, you could say, in the grand scheme of things, he goes out of the film, and another kind of action that these characters take that has a real consequence, and you could say is one of the factors leading to the kind of downfall of these men, but especially Dobbs. His kind of state of mind, and the whole kind of scenario there attracts attention, you could say, as well, and just very interesting how these characters kind of interact, and just seeing Cody and how he kind of affects the dynamics of the group. Actually brings out character traits of of these characters, especially Dobbs. Really reveals he's starting to go really much very much too far, and in the way of madness, and the paranoia in that sense really taking over. But Cody was great character. I wish he was in it longer, I could say. But really stand out as well. And yes, Gold Hat throughout the film, in and out of the film, as we know, and very entertaining as well. And of course, the score to this film, is just wonderful, warm and epic, and just beautiful score. Of course, really just magical, and really feeling the magic of this narrative, the actual scenario here, and just these characters' emotions, perhaps set against this wonderful backdrop, these locations, and of course the composer of the score is none other than Max Steiner, one of the greats for me personally. He composed so many just so many of the greatest for me scores of all time, and this is a stunning score, and just throughout really serving the story, and also just adding this shroud of this mystical feeling, and just making it more of an epic film. Just, of course there is lack of music at times, in the right moments, but just when there is music, it's just wonderful, it's grand, it's sweeping, it's intense as well, very intense, and powerful, just in a very simple way, but also very mystical and complex and intricate, actually, and just these wonderful standout moments, when they're traversing, of course, the landscape, and just different key moments, in the kind of narrative and the story beats, that are just highlighted by the score, and just the feeling from this, once again, no exception here, a wonderful score by Max Steiner, absolutely one of the greats, and really throughout, it's just a stunning score to behold, and adds so much feeling and emotion, and magic, and yes, we'll wrap up. Magical is certainly a way to describe this film. Also very tragic, and just in the end, a fascinating film. I think I do definitely prefer the first half. Really, that was absolutely masterful for me, and I think in comparison. The second half, you know, I didn't love it as much, but you know, that's just some minor slights, and you know, just a comparison piece. You know, I do love the film overall, no doubt, and I certainly, in the end, felt so much. And looking back, you know, as well on the early moments and how far these characters have come in the narrative sense, and just, you know, it's a very epic film. This such a scope to it. To think back to how these characters are very humble beginnings. You know, just, you know, very interesting, but you know, very basic, you know, of interactions, you could say, and scenarios, and then it really opens up, and it does such a wonderful job. And you know, the writing, of course, and direction by John Huston is so wonderful. But to see the patience, you know, and also, you know, he does. John Huston appears, you know, in the film. It's quite a pivotal role at first. You know, in these early parts, actually, he's quite you know, an interesting character. But you know, uncredited, of course. But you know, John Huston is in the film as well, and but just seeing these very humble beginnings, very much a patient film, focusing on these characters and just introducing them, and just to see the initial team up, you know, of the three core characters. You know, I was just smiling. You know, I was just so excited to see how this panned out, and certainly didn't go, you know, in some ways, especially the second half, you know, as into ways as, you know, that I predicted. But you know, that's great. You know, it's great to see a film that's, you know, like this. He's just daring and bold, and sticking simply to the vision, you know, of the filmmaker and all those involved, you know, in the story elements, and just the acting here from Humphrey Bogart. You know, it's just, you know, truly monumental. Absolutely floored me, the acting in this. Just easily his best performance that I've seen. You know, that includes a very famous film, you know, I've seen starring Humphrey Bogart, and he was great in that. But you know, this is another level of you know, of acting. I think just seeing this film and how, you know, how he transforms throughout the film, you know, it's just striking. And also, of course, the other characters, you know, as well, Walter Huston, especially, you know, absolutely stunning. But seeing the friendship of these three main characters, you know, first Curtin as well, you know, it's very sad. You know, he is initially with you know, Dobbs first, and now essentially, you know, very much there is this friendship, and also just the three main characters. There is a friendship there. There is a warmth, kind of a family feeling. But you know, it really does turn very dark. And you know, as much as I prefer the first half, I still love the film overall, and you know, I think certainly respect and admire the way in which it went. Very dark and very, you could say, yeah, as I say, very undignified moments. For example, with Dobbs, and you know, and his demise. But you know, what a stunning film this is. You know, really, very much, you know, a comfort film at times. Other times, you know, very, you know, kind of sad, tragic, you know, and intense. But it really is, in the end, a stunning piece of cinema, and a great Western film. You know, for my final rating, it is a 94%, extremely high from me, and you know, I think this film really is stunning. Certainly, you know, a great Western film that is now on my list of favourite Westerns, and you know, really a very unique Western, a very unique film in so many regards. You know, the writing here, the direction, you know, is absolutely stunning, and you know, I think the tone of this, you know, is so interesting. How it kind of shifts tone in the second half, and you know, it really is a very tragic film. There is a sense of hope in the film. There is a sense of, you know, a loss of hope. You know, it really has it all. So complex, you know, balanced and human. This film is so magical and pure. There is a pure storytelling to this, especially, as I say, in that first half. You know, I was floored. You know, especially here, and you know, this. Wow. You know, this was just especially striking. You know, you could say I had tears in my eyes simply to witness such majesty, you know, on display here, and just to see, you know, the command, you know, John Huston, and you know, it really was a pleasure here, certainly. But you know, just to see pure cinema here, you know, just beautiful cinema. You know, to see real classic cinema. Really is just such a great film, this, and you know, just, you know, I do, you know, I don't think it is as striking, you know, in the second half, but you know, regardless, you know, my personal kind of preference and my opinions of the film, you know, and how it kind of it has these moments where I don't love as much, but regardless of that, I definitely think it's a great film, and certainly somewhere, on a list of favourites, that's for sure. And certainly, again, yet another great, great western that I've witnessed, and again on my list of favourite westerns. Again, not too high. In the sense of maybe not the kind of top 10, 15, or these kinds of marks, but it is a great western, and one that I think clearly many people love, and it's great to see the praise for this film. I think it's stunning, it really is. 94 is very, very high from me indeed, very, very high, and I do think some of the film, I don't love as much as I've said, but I praise this film so much. I absolutely love it, and I just looking back on my experience, it really was just amazing. It really, really was just an awe-inspiring film. This, and very interesting, as I say. Dobbs, such a fascinating character. To see maybe look back even further, in the film, to see was he always, in this way, and did this just. Was this just a foil for his, his actual character, to really reveal this to us? How mad was he? Going so far back, you could say, but because was there a sense of was he always like this? Looking back, it's very interesting to see, and to rewatch this film will be very, very interesting indeed. And regardless, the cast, the characters, the score, of course, by Max Steiner, wonderful. The cinematography is stunning, and the editing as well. But the way the film is put together, it's such a visionary film. John Huston, wow, really was a great, great film here, and certainly a film I personally loved. Again, it won't be a film for everyone. It's very, very dark and very particular, in its kind of portrayal of madness. But there we go. Be very interesting to see what you think. This would be very, very interesting to discuss, and. Westerns, are so it's so fun to discuss westerns, and to hear your thoughts. What are your favourite westerns and this kind of thing, and just what do you think of a particular film, and why do you feel this? It's just endless. There are so many, and as I've said, one of my very favourites in terms of genre, westerns, and yes. That's it. We'll wrap up. What do you think? It'd be great to know, and I look forward to, of course, more reviews, more westerns, more Humphrey Bogart films, and just more films. All encompassing, of course, cinema, and there is so much to discuss. So yes, it's been great. Very interesting to watch and discuss. I loved it personally, but what do you think? It'd be great to know. And yes, as always, take care, and thanks for watching.